IIT has a different meaning for Indians and those who are in India. So we really wanted to have a session that would perhaps help people understand what they could expect in the IIT, and any other questions about the venue or travel or anything else that is coming to your mind. So if you want to, if you have a question, please go ahead and put in your questions in the chat. And or the other option you have is of raising your hand, your electronic hand, which is here in the at the bottom, if you want to raise your hand. So then and ask your question. So any question that you have, we welcome. We suggest that you do put it in the chat, and we can pick it up as we go by. Maybe I'd like to set the ball rolling by asking you, Ranjitha, what is an IIT, and why should I actually be there?
Yeah. So the IIT is, some of you may have read some of the information we put out about the IIT already. The IIT is an international intensive training, and I noticed that when we were checking in, the word intensive seemed to also bring up some nervousness about, am I ready for this? Maybe I can speak to that a little bit. So what you can expect, it's 9 days of training, and I believe it's going deep. It's called intensive because we stay, usually we'd attend maybe a day or a 2-day or a 3-day workshop. But this is really making a commitment to stay there for 9 days and continue learning. And in my experience, there's some sort of a deepening that happens when I do that without breaking it up into, let's say, I go to a workshop every weekend kind of thing, where there's a break where I come out of that space. Here we stay in the same space for 9 days. There will be we have 5 of us trainers who are going to be holding the space for the 9 days that we are together, and there will be different sessions offered every day. These sessions are going to be, the IIT is as much about learning as it is about learning how to be together with a commitment to the principles of nonviolent communication. What is it like to live with each other, with the assumption that all needs matter? What is it like to live with each other and show up for ourselves and other people with more empathy? And how can that be more powerful when we're actually in a larger group, when we can support each other every time we maybe slip up a little bit, go back to our old habits? So in that sense, the IIT is both about learning as it is about living in a community for those 9 days. And for me, it's almost like living in a slightly different world than the one we operate in, that really tells us that, well, the needs of some people are more important than the needs of others. This is a chance for us to practice what we're learning. So in terms of what you can expect, there will be sessions that are led by the trainer team on specific topics related to nonviolent communication. And because we are 5 trainers, we will be offering at least 3 sessions parallelly at the same time. So you can choose what you'd like to learn at that moment in time. So these will be sessions that are geared towards beginners, which will be focused on the foundational aspects of NVC. And there will be sessions for people who are experienced in NVC that explore the integration and application of NVC in different areas of our lives. There will also be a few other community sessions. Sudha, would you like to speak about them?
Yeah, so we are expecting about between 80 and 100 people in the IIT, and twice a day we meet as one large group. Once in the morning just after breakfast, and once in the evening just before dinner. And we call these community meetings. And the purpose of the morning session is to be able to tune into, so each day has a theme, it's to be able to tune into that theme. So there's a brief segment that helps participants tune into the energy of that theme. And then we go on, and in the morning sessions, the offerings that the trainers do will be announced, and they will say a little more about their offerings. And then as a participant, you are asked to choose where you want to go. I think somewhere, as Ranjitha said, that we are very aware that people who are new to NVC, we would like them to have a grasp on the fundamentals. And therefore, there is a very conscious decision that we are going to have a fundamental basics track or a beginner's track that will possibly run for 3 days roughly. And when we have a sense that the beginners have an understanding or a basic grasp of the framework of NVC, and then you go on to more varied sort of applications. The evening session, we call the morning session the remembering, and the evening session we call harvesting, where we harvest what we have learned during the day. We have certain moments where we celebrate things. We remember our celebratory moments, as well as maybe something didn't work for you. So this is a way of expressing that in the larger group. Back to you, Ranjitha.
Yes. And I think the way I experience it is that there's a beautiful balance between learning and integration. So the meetings where we meet in the morning are meetings, Sudha spoke about the community meeting that we all are at in the morning before we start learning. That's for orienting ourselves towards the day to come, setting intentions. Then there'll be a learning session. After that, there's going to be a lunch break followed by what we call home groups. And maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. And the home group is a place where you can be with what you've learned so far. And after that, there will be another learning session followed by the evening community meeting, which is another space where you can just do some reflection on how has the day been for me? What are the moments? What are the needs that have been met for me that I'm celebrating? What are some needs that are not met? So I find it a beautiful balance between active learning and being with what we've learned and making sense of that and reflecting on it. There's a question in the chat, Sudha, that relates to the beginners, which says, do we need any prior knowledge about NVC and any literature that we can refer to before we attend?
I mean, you are free to read anything that you want, and there's plenty of material available on YouTube as well as in terms of literature. However, that is not mandatory. So if you come with absolutely no idea of NVC, we welcome you, because we imagine that you would then join the beginner's track. There is a temptation to sort of go into something which is more advanced because it sounds so juicy and it sounds just right for me right now. However, we ask you, if you are beginning in your journey in nonviolent communication, we ask you to stay with the beginner's track and then move forward, because otherwise your understanding of the framework may not be supporting you in later on. So there may be gaps in your understanding, which may be crucial gaps. So we really want you to encourage the beginners to stay with the beginner track and then move on in 2 or 3 days. I think 3 days on, you'll be ready to go into into all other topics that are of interest to you.
And for me, when someone usually asks me the question, for me, the preparation that's needed to come to the beginner's track is to come in with an open mind. And that's about it. If you come in with just that and no other knowledge of NVC, I think you're set to absorb what's being shared.
Yeah.
There's another question. R asks, what is the difference between the online course 10 hours and the 9 days intensive IIT course?
Shall I take it?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think there's a world of difference. Learning or living in an NVC community for 9 days is actually an experience of how this modality or this process works. And more than that, it is about the consciousness of NVC. How can I bring that shift in myself? So a 10-hour online course may give you that framework. However, living it with people around you is a very different experience. It's like talking to somebody on the phone and having that person over, spending time with you at home or wherever, meeting that person. It's that difference that is so important. And what happens is that the NVC is a sort of a container that is, as Ranjitha has said, that is held by all the trainers, and beyond the training, perhaps even the organizers, that's held by the trainers and the organizing team. And in that container, we have the permission to experience whatever we want to experience. And it's something that can be held. And once we experience it, a different type of living, a different type of language, a different way of approaching, a different way of speaking, a different way of listening, then we have that blueprint within us. And that's the, I think I would say, the difference between an online course and an in-person course.
And for a framework that's focused on connection with ourselves and connection with others, I think there's so much more that we experience when we're in person, face to face, because the online, online courses do have their limitations in this regard.
Yeah. I think there's a question whether you'd be allowed to have your phone. Definitely. This is not a sort of an incarceration. You'll definitely be allowed to have your phone. And there's the other question that came to us through some of the applications is that what if I have a work call? You are free to choose. You can take the work call. There are times where some things are unavoidable. So do see that. And, connection with the home is important. It's the day is a packed day. It's really, the schedule is pretty packed. It begins at breakfast and it goes on till post dinner. So it's a packed day, and it's important for us to take care of other areas of our life also. So yes, you will be allowed to have the phone. You will have your laptops. There's Wi-Fi is very freely available all over. So that's one plus. You can, if you think you have meetings to attend, then that's a choice that you make. Yeah. I hope that's clear. Was it Naren who asked that question or Nitya? I'm not sure.
It was N, and maybe we'll hear from them in a moment. There's one question that was asked earlier that I want to address before we miss it. I'd like to have a bird's eye view of the training or workshop calendar.
Yes, Monica. Would you like to go ahead?
That's not Monica, it was Mrinal.
Is it? Yeah, Mrinal, sorry. Yeah. Ranjitha, would you like to go ahead with that?
Yes. Yes, I can. So the IIT itself is a standardized curriculum. So no matter which IIT you attend around the world, there may be different trainers teaching at the IIT, but the curriculum that's followed is generally the same, because for every one of the 9 days that we are together, there will be a certain theme of the day. And within this theme, the trainers will offer workshops that and every trainer I meet has a different way of sharing this work. So it'll all be based on this body of work within the theme, but each trainer brings their own flavor. So to give you an example, I think we start with day one being self-empathy, which is about connection with others. Then we move into learning how to listen or be in empathy. We move into an awareness of how do we resolve conflict. So there's a specific theme for every day of the IIT. And there will be sessions led on this. Broadly, in terms of a daily schedule, you can expect that we'll start after breakfast in the morning for a community meeting for some centering and setting our intentions. Then we split to go into sessions. There will be at least 3 parallel sessions that are being offered. So when we meet in the morning meeting, there will be announcements of the sessions that are being offered during the day, and you can go into whichever session calls out to you. We'll have a lunch break after that. And after the lunch break, we will have what we call home groups, which is for you, the home away from home at this event. So this will be a small group of people that you will be in for the duration of this event that you can come together with. And this is going to be your space where you can share your experience of what it's like to be at the IIT, any challenges that you're facing, or anything you want to share as a success or a celebration with the other members of your home group, and to be received with empathy for it, no matter what it is that you're bringing to that space. So that you'll have about an hour for. We'll have a tea break after that, and then go into another another learning session. Again, there will be at least 3 sessions that are being offered, a choice of 3 sessions, and you pick the one that calls out to you. After that, we have a short break and we meet again for the evening session, which is called the harvesting. With all the learning that's been done through the day, this is a moment where we can take some time to reflect on what the day has been like and share what worked for us and what didn't. And after that, we'll have dinner. And post-dinner, there is another session which is often offered by certification candidates, people who are on the track to becoming a certified trainer, who want to get some practice sharing this work and getting feedback for it, or other NVC practitioners who want to share some concept of NVC during the evening sessions. So that's going to be what the day is like. It will be slightly different on the first day and the last day because they shortened days. But otherwise, this is the schedule that we'll be following for most of our time together.
Yeah. I just want to add a little bit more about the home groups. Unfortunately, we can't attend all 3 parallel sessions at the same time. And most people I know, and my own experience is, we have a sense of, it was told to me in 2 ways, MMS. And the MMSs might miss something, or what we now know as FOMO, the fear of missing out. So what I've seen is that in home groups, they get together and say, okay, I'll go to this session, you go to this session, you go to that session, etc. And then the home group time can also sharing the learnings of different sessions, so that you have at least some idea about what is being offered in the sessions that you're not attending. So that's another strategy that people use. And it's also about building relationships with people. And sometimes, not sometimes, very often these relationships go beyond the IIT. They become, empathy buddies, people you can lean into, because now you have a shared understanding, you have a shared experience and a shared reality while you go through the IIT. And then it becomes a sort of a lifelong friendship resource that you have. So that's one of the very key ideas about the home groups. And
I'm smiling because Sudha and I were in a home group many years ago.
2012?
And you can see that.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. And we've been in touch since then, and we walked the certification journey together. We've worked together several times in the past few years. So this is also a chance to really build solid relationships with people who are committed to the practice, just like you are.
Yeah.
PM asks, are we expected to arrive with questions that are related to the purpose of why we're thinking of participating, or would that be counterproductive for beginners?
Sorry, will you take that?
Yes. So PM, I'll attempt to answer your question. Let me know if it's helpful. It would certainly be helpful. Am I frozen now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So PM, it would certainly be helpful if you could think about what is it that's calling you to participate at this event. Is there something specific you're wanting to work on? It's helpful to have that as a lens to bring it in. And then after that, I'd say just allow yourself to experience what's being offered. And then once you're experiencing it in the sessions, there will certainly be moments where the trainers will invite you to take a concept and practice it based on a situation in your own life. And those might be moments where you want to bring that clarity in to say, oh, I'd identified this, and this might be something I want to apply to. That would be helpful. And you can let me know in the chat if that answered your question.
Also, I think when you say, are we expected to arrive, I'm imagining that you're saying arrive at the IIT. Is that what you're meaning?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, so that was also my understanding. And if at all you have any area of work or life or relationship that you would like to explore, you can always make a request. And that's something that we encourage you to do. because the trainers would like for you for the sessions to be meaningful and relatable to the questions that you have in your own personal life or professional life. So if you have such a topic that you would like explored, there will be a request board that participants can place their request. So please do make a request, put your name on the request, and then every day the trainers will be going through the request board to see how does it fit in, where can they offer it. It may not be immediately. The idea is to try and meet as many requests as possible, and that's really the intention. And sometimes it is not possible, so that may fall by the. But please persist in asking for what you would really like to experience and to learn and to see at the IIT. The theme of each day, it goes from the simple to the more complex: conflict resolution, healing, social change, parenting, education, all of that. And this theme was actually set by Marshall Rosenberg, and we call it the Rosenberg gift. So we largely follow the same themes.
So PM tells us in the chat that their question has been answered.
Thank you.
Yes. Another question, this time from N. As trainers, could you share from your experience on any past sessions, any difficulties you had with the participants? I'm basically trying to understand if some of the intensive programs end up in more violent conflict and how safety is ensured.
I'm happy to answer that. And I'm actually happy because my habitual response to any conflict is to run away and or freeze and sometimes fight back. I'm remembering the words that Marshall I've heard and read when he says, lean into the conflict because there's a gift there. So earlier I used to be frightened of conflicts. Now I no longer am, because I'm seeing that somebody is desperately trying to get either their voice heard or they want something which is not being met. And if I'm able to listen to them, then yes. Are there conflicts? Sure they are. Will there be violent acts? I have no way of predicting, actually. In the past, has it happened? Yes, it has. Definitely. And then we are all there to hold it. You see, that's the beauty of it, that we're not going to abandon you if there are conflicts. We're not going to abandon anyone. So we're going to hold that together. And that's the most important thing. We perhaps are not attached to any outcome. And that leaves us free to see each other in a way that we perhaps did not earlier. Because attachment when I'm open to the outcome, then I can find creative ways of finding resolution. You have anything to add?
Yeah. As trainers and organizers, of course, part of our role is to ensure that the logistics are in place, that as trainers, we're leading sessions. And I think there's something much bigger than that we're constantly focusing on. And that is, just being aware of what's happening in the group, looking at what support do people need. And I consider that to be such a large part of our roles, both as organizers and trainers, when we're at an event like this. And we have a commitment to make sure that we're sort of checking in, to have systems of support for people. So, for example, if there's someone who's really overwhelmed by what's being offered, then there'll be someone you can reach out to. If you're overwhelmed with the intensity of emotion, then there'll be some support for you available. And these are things that we will be sharing more concretely with you when we actually meet in February. But please know that, being together for 9 days can leave many of us, can stir up different kinds of emotions and can leave some of us feeling vulnerable. We're practicing new skills. So sometimes we might end up saying something out of we might attempt to do something different and then it doesn't land the way we like it to. And we might want to call on some support to do some relationship repair when that happens. Whatever it is, I think we're thinking ahead to as many things as we can so we can put in systems of support in place for something like that. When it actually happens, you'll know who you can reach out to. And we've had, like Sudha mentioned, we've had disagreements, we've had conflicts at places like this. And from my memory, every single one of them has been dealt to with compassion for everyone who's involved. Sudha?
Yeah, I think my unsolicited advice is that if you are in discomfort or feeling some measure or something is not sitting with you, please do reach out and speak about it. Please do not allow it to stay in you and fester and just brew in you, so that at some point when there's there's something very small happens, it erupts. So I would really encourage us to speak first in the home group. Then we have what we call, Ranjitha said, there are different strategies. We have empathy ambassadors or angels for the day. Speak to them. And then if nothing else works, then go on and try and see whether you can meet a trainer and speak, etc. Don't go to the trainer first, because there are different levels. They are very, very tied up, very busy. They're on the run 24/7 on those 9 days. Even if they are sleeping, things are going on in their brains and they're dreaming of sessions and how they can hold it. So do reach out to the different opportunities or things available to you, and it can be very helpful if you do that.
And yeah, thank you. So that reminds me that one of the things we'll probably do on day one is to identify these systems of support and set up a system so everyone's clear about, if I'm struggling with something, who is it that I can actually reach out to?
There will be people assigned for logistics, and if you have venue questions, if you have what is it called? If you have things to do with your room, or if you have things to do with your ticketing or your travel or your whatever. So we will be assigning people, and you will get to hear about that, so that that this is the person I can contact if I need some support in different things. And then if it's an interpersonal conflict or there's something that you're not enjoying, there are other people who can do that. Yeah.
N says, thank you, that answers my questions. It would be good to understand some policies or safety measures towards anything reaching to a physically violent level, and not only emotional and communication conflicts.
I have no experience of physically violent instances in my 15 years of being in large groups, and yeah. Report it. I mean, I don't know. I cannot give you a ready answer to that. Ranjitha, if you have something that, or Vidur, we are imagining that it doesn't come to hatapai, as they call it,
And that's mostly because when things have come up, people have sought support before things get very drastic. And that's key, I think. Yeah, that said, we're...
also, the fact is that NVC is not about imagining that the world is full of people who have the same ideas as I have, or the same preferences as I have. How do I maintain connection, even though you may have a diametrically opposite view than mine? And that, I think, is how can I see you as a human being who has preferences or likes or dislikes or ideology, which is very different? And can I see that? And can I value you as a human being? So the whole purpose of NVC is about connecting across differences, or connecting with differences, maybe. Actually, I don't have a single instance in my memory, even in the global this thing of anything becoming physically violent. So I don't know whether that gives you any ease, but well, yeah. Thank you.
N says, thank you. I think you got my drift, and that's reassuring to hear. Nitya has a question. The 9-day workshop, I understand, helps us learn and grow as individuals. Would this workshop also be helpful or enough to add NVC concepts to our work in facilitation?
Short answer, it will. Application, practice will be it's participatory, it's interactive and application, and then you will have workshops that are specifically designed because I think the issues are the same. It's about whether it's in the personal or whether it's in the setting may be different. However, the issues are the same. And how does one then handle those issues? How does one connect with those issues?
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of my work is personal. I do a lot of self-exploration workshops for individuals and groups. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prashanti has a question. Can you please share how home groups are formed and if there would be an opportunity to choose our own home group? Prashanti, we don't have an answer to that yet.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I hear that it's a preference for you, Prashanti. You would like it?
Not really. I think with my experience, because I felt a little bit alone last time, if that's okay to share. Because I felt like everybody else knew each other and I was almost alone. And I didn't really have a choice of being in a home group. And when yeah, I did find it a bit challenging to be in, and nothing nothing about the other people, but I think it's about myself, I guess. I was being very I felt very insecure and there was nobody to reach out to talk to other than in my home group. So, and 9 days is a long time. So I was just wondering, I mean, and I think I might be again alone because coming from so far, I've been trying to get other people from Sydney to join in, but they may not. But so that's the only kind of a question. It's not like I have few people that I want to be in the home group with, but if we don't gel, if the other people are not similar to, I mean, if I come because I want to learn. And if the space that I'm in is not really conducive for my learning, safety is not only about being physically unsafe, but also emotionally unsafe. So would there be an opportunity to change or talk to somebody and, be with somebody where I can actually be in a space of learning and practicing rather than feeling like I'm being left alone? Thank you.
So
I
can
think
you
Vidud
answer
had
that,
an answer
Sudha?
to that.
Yeah.
I thought Vidud had raised his hand.
Okay.
Is it
Vidud?
an answer to this one?
Hi, Prashanti. And yes, let me answer your question as a person who was in your home group last year.
Yes, you were. And you, thank you. Nothing personal. It's not
No,
addressed to you or, yeah,
yes.
thank you.
So just to let you know that yes, home groups can be tricky sometimes because, like, I remember last time I had virtually no time to actually attend home group meetings. I was just doing a lot of running around, and it is something that I will be actually talking to the trainers this time on, how I'm going to be able to balance attending the IIT with my organizational duties as well. And I think if you have a problem coming up in your home groups and you're feeling a little alone, I would go with what Sudha said. Share what is going on right away, and we'll find a solution for you. We'll find a strategy that works.
Thank you.
Prashanti, I'd also like to add something, which is that usually when we look at home groups, we try to see that it's not a group of beginners alone. We like to sort of balance it out with people who are new to NVC and people who have some experience or a lot of experience with NVC, so that they're, together you're able to make it a meaningful experience for each other. That is not the only strategy. So there can be other strategies, and the trainer team will decide how that is to be done in the months to come.
Yeah, I think,
but
thank
we
you.
are sensitive about the fact that sometimes not everybody is able to gel with the group that they are offered, and so, or they are assigned to, or they choose. So yes, and also that in many of these groups there are people who don't know anybody else. Yes, they don't know anybody else. Yeah.
Thank you, Sudha. I trust this time it will be okay for me. I think it's
And
more
if it
about
is
me
not for
too.
you, dog for your needs. If it's not, please say it, because we would, it would be very it will be very sad for me as an organizer, and I'm imagining Ranjitha as a trainer, to know that somebody is unhappy with their home groups. So we will find ways, strategies. There are many strategies to see how you can fit. You can find something that is a fit for you.
And I would be sadder even to discover that after the event. So please
Yeah.
allow us to support you when we still have a chance, when we're still together, when there's still something that can be done, if something like that happens.
Thank you.
Okay.
Gunjan has a question.
Will we be able to encourage others once we are back to join in on the journey to NVC so that we can maneuver the conflicts, or will we simply find a way to accept them, for lack of a better word? I think it really, NVC really spreads from person to person. When you go back into your own community, people begin to notice that there's something different about the way you're responding. There's something different about your being. There's something different about how you are facing situations, etc. And that may arouse curiosity and say, hey, what is this? How is it that you're different? And that's one way that it spreads. I would encourage anybody that you have in your family, if they are willing to come with you and join in. If that is not so, yes. You use the word maneuver, and that's something that I would be interested. See, NVC is a tool. It's a strategy. It's a process. It's a methodology. But more than anything else, there's a philosophy behind it. That is, I really want to tap into my compassionate nature and to be able to see the other as a human being who's struggling in whatever they are saying, or whatever this the language that is coming at me. I have now the skills to see beyond the language. So, an NVC once learned can become, and the danger of it is that it can become a manipulative process. So important it is to know that what is my intention when I'm getting into a conversation with somebody or engaging with somebody, and can I see the humanity of the other? So it really doesn't mean that we're not looking at compromise. We're looking at very, very tectonic shifts in the way you see life around you. That's a general answer, but I guess I'm not sure whether it's
on a more practical level. Usually on the last day of the NVC, one of the trainers will offer a session on what it's like to go home now, go home with this new thing that we've learned that we're trying to bring into our lives. So you might find some practical support there.
Yeah, I think I will.
That's it with the questions, Sudha.
Okay, and we're almost done with the hour. Right. So I'm curious, and I would love to hear maybe one word from each of you as to how this has been for you to be hearing this, and is there more clarity? Whatever it is that is what is alive in you right now. And that's a standard NVC question. Tell us what is alive in you right now.
People could do it on chat, or they could also unmute themselves, whatever.
That's a possibility.
Works.
And maybe we can take off the highlight, because I'd love to see the groups. Yeah. So maybe this time I will call out and say maybe. And so is that okay? Gunjan, would you like to go first, and then Nupur?
I think one word is enlightening. I mean, this is like, I always feel this, like I said, I've had a little introduction to it, but I genuinely feel that that was not enough. And I feel that even if one is able to grasp the tip of the iceberg, it's, it sort of sorts you out for times to come. So yeah, excited and enlightening. I mean, I don't know what it'll offer. I don't know what results, or, so to say, will I be able to fit into the textbook shape of, okay, I have succeeded or failed, but even apart from that, it seems very excited. And I hope I'm, if nothing, at least I'm a lot enlightened after the sessions.
Thank you. Nupur and then Patricia.
I got a lot of clarity as to what is going to happen for the next 9 days, because that was on my mind, that 9 days is a very long period of time. But I got that, and I want to learn more. In fact, I wanted to ask you if you could, repeat the sessions that would go on parallelly, or, record them for us to go through it once, we are done with the course or something. Something you could do for us.
Make a request.
I'll do
On your
that.
request hinges everything. MMS is striking already, right? Yeah. Patricia and then Prashanti. One word, please, if possible. Okay. No, Patricia, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Enriching for
Mm.
me. Yes. And I would like to learn to speak like Ranjitha and you, Sudha. So that would be my goal.
Thank you.
Yes.
Prashanti
Thank
and
you
then
for the session.
sorry.
I said thank you for this Q&A session.
Thank you. Prashanti and then Sangeeta.
Yeah, just gratitude for offering this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Sangeeta and then Maulika.
Challenging, but in a good way, I
Okay.
would say. It seems like a lot of what you're saying would requires us to also look at the intention, right?
Mm.
And then kind of the language and the intention and working with that. It's
Mm.
I can imagine that it would be a challenge, but a good
Yeah.
challenge. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Maulika has dropped off. So Nitya and Bharati.
For me, it was a lot of curiosity and encouragement, actually. So I would love to know more of like the fee structure and all of that. Yeah, encouraged and curious.
Yeah, maybe you could follow that link which Vidur has put. Maybe Vidur can put it in again.
Yes,
To know
please
more
do. I
about it.
will
Yeah.
save it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Bharati.
Yeah. So thanks to all of you for this wonderful session. It was good to know about the terms like home groups, harvesting, all those things. So I'm all excited and curious to attend the 9-day session. So yeah, I come from down south, so I'm all excited to be in a new place and a new community, NVC community. Thank you.
Thank you. So then it's a wrap?
Is that everyone done?
Yeah. So far.
I want to remind you that we'll be looking forward to seeing you at the IIT next year. It's from the 6th to the 15th of February in Panchgani, Maharashtra. And Vidur has put the link into the chat. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're available on email, and maybe Vidur, you can put our email address into the chat as well. We have a special regional fee for Indian participants. So please take a look at that. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you soon.
And the early bird fee ends on the 14th of October, just to let you know that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Stay well. Thank you, Nitya.